Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show how I use my buttonhole foot on my Pfaff Classic Style quilt. And in my book, so this is my book, and it is on page 3.13 and you've got buttonholes. So I am going to show how to use the Sensormatic buttonhole guide, which looks like this, and it goes in this way. If you have it turned that way, it will not fit because there's a little notch at the back of your machine where it will sit. And if you hear my daughter, I'm sorry, she's downstairs, she's in the bathroom. So you will slide the big foot into the machine and it just sits there. And it's the guide for the buttonhole foot, which is number 5. So we make sure our IDT foot is disconnected, which is at the back, because it won't work with that in. So we will attach the foot like it is, and I'm going to actually just shove the thread through the back, just so, because it sometimes gets in the way. So I'm going to push it through the back. So when we have it, the foot will be the very back, and on this one, unfortunately, it doesn't have an automatic where you can put your button in. So I just tend to get a ruler, and we're going to use a small one. So on this small one, it's about 15 millimeters. 15 millimeters. It is 15 millimeters. So on this machine, you will turn it to number 9. And then you've got on the side is your tension. You've put it on number 3. And if it will, tension guide. Let me just check if it's. Is this a picture of the guide? Yes. So there is a picture of the guide. Number 3 has got the buttonhole symbol on it. So you have it on number 3. My fabric I'm using, I just have some curtain material, and if you use thinner material you would need some stabiliser. This one I don't really need it. So what I tend to do is I tend to pop my foot up, because it goes in between the plate, the bottom plate, and the foot. Bring it through. Then we'll push the foot all the way back and drop the guide down so it stops it from moving. So on the top is your stitch width. I am going to leave it on 4.5. Sometimes you can lower it if you want it slightly thinner, but the middle one is how long your buttonhole will be. So we want, for this particular one, it's on 16 millimeters. It might actually leave it, but if I had a bigger one, we can do the big one first. So that one is 25 millimeters. So we will use the plus sign and we will go to 25. The bottom one is if you want to alter the density, if you want it slightly thicker or slightly thinner, but I just tend to leave number 3 alone. Don't really bother with that. And if you are got your buttonhole to what you want, you can hold this button down, hold it, and it will lock it. So if you've got children and you are doing the buttonhole to what you want, you can lock it. But I don't need to do that because I've unlocked it. So all I need to do now is and then automatically so the back plate stays still, but it because it's in the machine, it sort of moves with the front one, so the back one will and it will start on the right hand side. Then when it gets down to the size it needs to be, it will do the locking stitches. Then it comes back up the other side. Do quite a long button because it is a big button. Then it will do the main part, and then it will do the tack stitch at the side, and then it will just stop. And it will remember it because I've asked it I've told it what size button I am using. So I can lift it up and bring it out. My end threads. So I'm using my seam ripper. Normally with this fabric I wouldn't actually fold it over, but I did on this one. I just folded it just because it was easier. Then you'll turn it round, so it's the first part open, and then you'll do the second part. Don't do it with a pair of scissors, or you could actually catch the fabric just a little bit too much. So that is, and the button fits perfect. But if you wanted a slightly more give, you could actually do maybe 25mm. So that would be the second one. So that works perfect. So that is using the first part. The second part, if I want to use just the semi-automatic, just slightly different. If I go find the semi. So on the semi, we need to know what size button we're going to use, so I'm going to use a pink button. So my pink button is 20mm, so I want to go down to 20. I'm hoping I get this right because I haven't used this one for a while. So on this one, you get your reverse button and it puts it into manual mode. Then we tap on the middle button, and then we're going to go down to 20. That is going to automatically stitch the 20. So what I will do is I will use the same fabric. Pick it up. And it should automatically do it on its own without me having to do anything else. So that is the second buttonhole. So I'll do the same again. And on this one, if you hold down this button, it will lock it, and then if you are doing stuff and you've got other people in the room and they touch anything, nothing will happen until you turn the lock off. Especially with children, it's really good. So that buttonhole works. So on this one, if you just, because I did 20, you could actually just see if I can open it, just slightly tap more. So that was 20, so that works perfect as well. So that's the right. The last one is a bit more fiddly, and I have to remember because I don't use the last one very often. The last one is an automatic. Right, manual. So on this one, it's a bit more fiddly. So first we will tap on the reverse button again, and we'll want it into manual mode. So what this one will do is, you would so on this one I would use the guide at the bottom for where I needed to go, and it needs to go to the, so we'll put it in now. So on this one, my guide is, there's like big notches and then there's little baby ones, so I need to actually come down to one of the notches. So hopefully I can remember if I'm getting this right. So I think on this one you press the reverse once it's done. You press the reverse and then it's going to go back. This is the manual one. And that's because I so on this one it's a bit more fiddly, so what you have to do, which is what I didn't forget, because this one I don't use very often. So you would, I shall do it again, and it does work, but it depends if it will work on that one. Just check. Yeah, it might need a little bit longer. So on this one we'll do it again, and I want to come out of the automatic. So we're going to go on manual. I am going to go down to the third large notch. So you will start. And then when you come down to the third notch, you would press the reverse button. On the reverse. Now it's going to come back. When you get to the top, you would press the reverse again, and then it will finish the stitch for you. slows down so that you know you're coming to the end. And then it will finish it for you. And then you would get your small button, and so the small button works really well. Another thing you can do, if I get a bit more fabric, if you know you are doing a certain size, you can use a this is a water erase pen. You can get a dry one that you can use with iron as well, but I would do this on the reverse side, not the front. So if I want to do this button, and I'm going to, I'll use this measure. This is a good measuring one as well. So it is about 20 centimeters. So what I can do, I can, when I take the lid off, I would mark it on the 2, and then mark it at the top, and then I know this is where it's going to be. So if normally I would use a rule, just a normal ruler instead of this one, but it'll work. So I would, and then you can actually put your line down the middle. This is a good one to practice with. So, and we'll use it for this one. So I need to come back off manual, so because I don't want it on manual, I want it on so I've set it for manual. So if you come off manual, if you go on normal, this is normal, and I want it for manual. So there's nothing on there because I'm using the automatic. So this one's good if you don't have the other 2 bits, where if you've only just got this one, and then you can do a mix of the 2. So on this one, we know we're going to come down to this 3, yeah, because that's where it'll be. So it's going to start it off, and then it's going to come all the way down, and then when it comes down to the line that you've done, then you press the reverse button. These are good if you've got like a funny shaped button, like a star or one of the animal sorts. Tap. And then it's going to slow down till it gets to the top. And then when it comes to the very end, you would press the reverse button again. And then it's going to do the finishing one, and then it will do the tack at the end. So, and then that's that one finished, and that's where I've marked it. So what I'm going to do is let me go and grab see if I've got a shape one. I think I do have some, just so we can try a shape. So I have a flower button, which can be a bit more awkward to do. So first of all, I need to measure about my button. So my button is it's about 20 mil. So what we're going to do is we're going to do this one on the automatic. So we're going to come on. So we're going to do. We already set for 20. So we know it's 20. So this one is going to. I'm going to alter this very slightly. I'm just going to bring it down to the 4. So it's the how white the stitch is. We'll see what that one looks like, but I shall leave the density alone. But we needed 20 mil for our button, and I'm using the semi-automatic buttonhole this time, and it's going to remember what I have done. So this one is going to go down to the what it is on here, so it will remember it every time. Oh, I broke my needle. That's because I altered the density, so I normally leave it at 5, and that's what happens. Right. Which is very, very, very rare I break a needle. So that literally is stuck inside, which is good. So I shall leave that one alone, and I need to change my needle. So I am going to use a universal, what size needles I've got? So I'm just going to use a universal, oh, that's too big, a 100. So I just have some basic universal needles, and I'm just going to try and not knock anybody. So on this one there's a thing at the side, because it's in a really awkward spot. You can use. So that literally snapped the top off. And I have a little jar, so I have one of these that it's just a spice jar, and it's got the holes in. Then I just put any sharp needles into that. Sorry, I just knocked the camera. So I am going to now put in a new needle. And then we'll try again. So this one, you've got a flat bit at the back. The back flat bit goes to the very, very back, and I need to take that off while I do it. Bring it all the way to the highest. You will put it flat back and then tighten it, and then on this one is an automatic needle threader, so it goes around this hook. Bring it down, pop it in, and it comes through. There you go. Not catch the thread. Why are you caught? Right, so I'm just going to pop the thread underneath. Just saves me trimming it. Right, So I shall get a bit more fabric and try again. So that one was completely broke. So I'm going to leave the dent, so I'm going to leave the stitch, and I think what it is, my fabric is quite thick. So I'm just going to do it with, so keep it on the normal and what it's on. It's on 20mm and I'm not going to alter the density. If it was on a slightly thinner fabric, then you can play. So hopefully this time it won't break my needle. So now it's doing what it's supposed to be doing. And this is not right. If it plays up, press number 9 again, reset it. So I need 20mm, and we want 20. We are going to press on, which is what I forgot. I'm going to press on the back button to put it into. I'll be down in a minute, Amy. So what my problem was, because it got upset, it was still in manual mode. So if it goes into manual mode, press number 9, that resets it. So because I want the semi, I don't have to put the back stitch, the back part on, so I just turn it to the size I want, leave the top one alone. I tend to leave these two alone. I tend to just play with the middle one, and then you will get your buttonhole. But anytime you have a problem with any of the stitches, you can literally just press on your keypad on the numbers on the bottom, and it will literally just go back. So that is my button, and we'll see if this one works. So yeah, so that is literally fits through perfect. So that was 20mm. But on the other one, if I take this one out, and if we use the plate, it's going to do the same thing. But as soon as you put it in, it as soon as it goes in, it senses it's there every time. So we will put our foot in, snap it into spot, and then bring that underneath just to get it out of the way, just because it's easier. And the other one, and then you'll bring all the way to the end. You will lift, I tend to lift the front bit up and put my foot down, and it will, I have got it on 20mm, not centimetres, and I am not going to touch the top or the bottom, and then it will automatically replace the back, brings it out and all it does is it stabilises the fabric more than if you do just the automatic and then manual. And it will go down to the 20mm, which is the fairly large notch. Then it will finish. So we'll do it that way, and then the larger one of the larger buttons, really big buttons I have. We'll see if it'll work on one of them. Because I haven't tried it on one of the very, very biggest. So I have a really nice big button. So, which is I would say, okay, so that's saying it's 35, so we're going to go all the way up to, right, so this one goes up to 30. Which is that actually. So we'll see if how long that does. So we're going to tip it forward. Fabric in. So you'll bring the foot all the way to the, so it sits all the way to the back, and you press the foot down, and we'll see how well this does, because I don't normally use the bigger one. So it's doing a large buttonhole. Now, sorry if you can hear my phone going off, I'm getting a phone call, but she'll have to wait. I'll ring her back in a minute. And then it's going to tack it at the end and then finish it off. So that is my largest buttonhole. So we'll just try this one to make sure it does actually work. But normally I don't use the big, really big buttonholes. I just got some in a thing. But normally my main ones I use are some smaller ones. So my largest buttonhole. So yeah, so it's because it's not open all the way in. Help it, I actually open it all the way. So it's quite a big buttonhole. Which this one it needs to be slightly bigger, but we know it. But I'm surprised it doesn't go slightly big, which is. But if you're using it on this one, if you're going to do that, you would actually not have this in. You would do your manual, and then you can make it as long as you want. And that'd be the best way to do it. So we shall try the manual. So we know the cinematic one doesn't, and I am going to put my phone into quiet mode. But people talking to me. Do not disturb. There you go. So we are going to test it out. So we wanted 35. So we're going to press on the back button. We are in manual mode. So my button is, goes down to, so it goes down right near the end. So it's at, I mean, the other one would be a really large button. So I'm hoping I have enough space to actually do it. So we're going to lower the presser foot. We are going to see how far down we can get. So we need to go all the way near the end, and then we'll press the back button again. And the back button. Then when it gets to the top, it's going to slow down. And then you will press the back button again when you come to the very, very top. And that's going to finish the top and then finish the tack at the end. So that's just what you use. So if you've got large buttons, you will use the manual setting. Now it's going to remember every time it goes into automatic mode. So every time, if you've got 5 or 6 of these buttons to do, it's going to remember every time, and you don't need to do nothing else. I get my button. Hopefully I've done it right, and oh yes, so that will could have done with a slightly bit more, because it's not even all the way. Oh, there we go. So there's my button. So now, because it's in automatic mode, I'm going to come to the side and make sure my foot is not all the way, so we need to make sure it's all the way to the back. Put the foot down, and it should automatically come all the way down and do it itself without me having to do anything. And you can also lock it as well, so if you've got anybody in the room, children, anybody you don't want anybody to touch, you can set it for that. And now it's going to go back up the other way. And then it's going to lock it and then do the tack inside. And it remembers it, so, but it's because I had it in a slightly different spot, but it will remember the stitch you've done. So let's just check to make sure. Sorry if you can hear my daughter, she's downstairs. through. No, because it's not all the way open. So it works. So if I wanted to, I could actually, when I did it, I could actually make it very, very slightly longer, but it will work. And then when you are finished with this and you want it put back to normal, you just press 9. And 9 will just set it back to its normal. And then when you are finished, the button on the side, you put it back between, I normally have it between 4 and 5. And that's its normal. And then when you're finished, but if you have this on lock, if you turn your machine off, it will automatically unlock it. It won't save it. It does not save it until you lock it to what you want it to be. But I don't need to be locked. That is how you use the 3 different buttonholes. So if anybody had any questions, please let me know. Thank you very much.